Okay, so now we're going to talk about complex fractions. And basically a complex fraction is where you have a fraction like this, a major fraction, but then in the numerator or denominator you have fractions as well. So notice here, this is a fraction right here, but on the top I have 1 over x squared, which is a fraction, plus 2 over x, which is a fraction. On bottom I have 1 over y squared minus 3 over y, and those are both fractions. So what I can do is I'm going to look at these four denominators, x and x squared and y squared, and I'm going to figure out what is the least common denominator of these four fractions. So in other words, what's the lowest power that all four of these will go into? Well, I know that x and x squared will both go into x squared, and I know that y and y squared will both go into y squared. So I'm going to use x squared times y squared for the lowest common denominator. Now, what am I going to use that for? Well, I'm simply going to multiply both terms on the top by x squared y squared and both terms on the bottom by x squared y squared. And what that will do is that will eliminate all four of those fractions. And this is how it works. If you distribute this x squared y squared here through both of these terms, when you multiply it by 1 over x squared, well, the x squareds will cancel and you just get 1 times y squared. So you just get y squared. And then if you multiply x squared y squared times the second term, then the x will cancel with the x squared. So you'll get, or x squared over x is just going to be x. So you get 2x y squared. And so that way the x, see how the x canceled? The x divides into the x squared and gives you x. So you get 2xy squared, which is this. Now if we do the same thing on the bottom, when I multiply this by this fraction, the y squareds cancel and I just get x squared. Well, then when I multiply, so there's the x squared, and then when I multiply this by the 3 over y, well, the y will go into the y squared and just give me y, and so I'm going to have minus 3 times x squared y, so I get minus 3x squared y. And so there you have it. There's your simplified expression. Now it's a regular fraction and not a complex fraction. So that's how you turn a complex fraction into just a plain old fraction. And I got another one here for you. This one's a little bit different, but it's still a complex fraction. So here's the major fraction line right here. And then in the numerator I have this fraction, and in the denominator I have this fraction. So basically I have fractions within fractions, which gives me a complex fraction. So now I need to figure out what will eliminate both of these denominators, x minus 1 and x plus 2. Well, the product that will eliminate them is x minus 1 times x plus 2. So I'm going to multiply this product by each one of these terms. Now, this can be a little tricky, so I'm going to multiply the top by x minus 1 x plus 2 and the bottom by x minus 1 x plus 2. Alright, now this right here, I'm going to multiply 7 times x minus 1 x minus 2. And that's going to give me exactly what I said, 7 times x minus 1 x plus 2. Alright, now what's going to happen when I multiply this by x minus 1 x plus 2? Well, since this x minus 1's in the denominator and this x minus 1's in the numerator, x minus 1 over x minus 1 is 1, so that's just going to give me 2 times x plus 2. So that's what I have there. Now, when I do the bottom, basically likewise, you take 5 times x minus 1 times x plus 2, and that's what you get. And then when you multiply the minus 3 over x plus 2 times x minus 1 x plus 2, then the x plus 2's will cancel, and you get minus 3 times x minus 1. Now, a common mistake some students will make here is they'll see these common factors here, and they'll try to cancel. But see, this is not, the numerator and denominator is not just a bunch of factors. It's actually made up of terms. See, this is this product plus this product, and down here you have this product minus this product. So you can't cancel anything out of that because those aren't factors, those are terms. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to multiply all of this together. So let's start with multiplying x minus 1 times x plus 2. Well, again, we can FOIL. X times x is x squared. And then I'm just going to skip the middle step and just say x times 2 is 2x, minus 1 times x is minus x, so 2x minus x is just x. So I'm just going to get x there, and then minus 1 times 2 is minus 2. So if I multiply those together, I get x squared plus x minus 2, and then on the bottom, same thing. Then I can go ahead and distribute this 7 into each of these three terms. So multiply this by 7, I get 7x squared. 7 times x is 7x, so I get 7x squared plus 7x, and then 7 times negative 2 is minus 14. Now I could have went ahead and distributed this in this step, but I wanted to wait until I was ready to distribute the other expression. So here 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times 2 here would be 4. Okay, now let's do the bottom. 5 times x squared is 5x squared. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times minus 2 is minus 10. And then here when I distribute the minus 3, I get minus 3 times x is minus 3x. And then minus 3 times minus 1 is, well, is it 2? No, it's 3. Okay, so we'll fix that. Okay, so minus 3 times minus 1 is plus 3. So now, let's see. That's going to give me 7x squared. I have a 7x and a 2x, which is a 9x if I add those together. And then I have a minus 14 plus 4, which is a minus 10. Now on the bottom, I have 5x squared, which I have here. And then I have 5x minus 3x, which is 2x. And then, of course, I've got to fix this because I have minus 2 plus 3, not 2. So minus 10 plus 3 is minus 7. So that should be a minus 7. Okay, and so that's how we simplify complex fraction. Now another area that we have to do with polynomials is we have to learn how to factor polynomials. And I'm going to talk about that on the next video. I'll show you some factoring examples.